Welcome to the closing table by Leadhouse 365. It is Friday, October 17th. We are here to bring you news, information, tips, tricks, and everything it takes to get to the closing table. My name is Drew. I'm one of the co-owners of Leadhouse 365. And to my right is Craig.
I think I'm to your left, bro. But
Left, my left. Sorry.
What's going on, guys? I'm Craig, senior investor and marketing specialist. Happy Friday.
Yes, we made it. We survived another week, another busy week. We got a lot of stuff we've been working on. Today, I wanted to kind of talk about hiring because this industry with real estate investing, it can be tricky to navigate, especially for people who are like not getting started. People dive in head first. They get a couple deals, and eventually they're looking to scale. And a lot of times people come to us and they talk about hiring and what does that look like. So we want to talk a little bit about that because we find that's been something that's been coming up a lot more and more lately, especially with all of our clients that we work with. And for just a quick reminder, we are Leadhouse 365, the premier real estate investing lead provider. We do not do PPL. We do monthly packages where we give you market exclusivity for your market, and we build a customized funnel that allows to generate your exact buy box for getting motivated, distressed sellers in your market. I would proudly say that we are able to generate the highest quality, most motivated home seller leads for a fraction of the price of anyone else in the industry. And if you don't believe that, we could show you dozens of our clients who will vouch for us, and we'd love to work with you sometime. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, feel free to go to Leadhouse 365 and book a call. We'd love to jump on and talk about you, your market, what you're struggling with. Today, we're talking about hiring because that is something we see a lot of people struggling with. So I'm going to let Craig kind of take the lead on this one because he's been there, he's done this, he's hired, he's scaled the team, done everything when it comes to the real estate investing business. So when you're talking about hiring specifically, Craig, who do you think the first hire should be?
Yeah, great question, man. I hear of it all the time, and that's probably the most important thing is when, right? Probably when and who I should hire to replace me, to replace someone else. I think probably looking back on things, how when I first started, it was almost like everybody who was willing to come in here and work for a commission, we just stuck in a chair, right? Mm-hmm. Now I look at it and a lot of money was wasted in people putting people in places that weren't, maybe they weren't qualified to be there, but we had them there and they were, making calls, but they didn't care about the leads as much as I did because I was paying for them all. But I think you get to that point where it's like, hey, it's like burnout, right? You're making good money, you're doing deals, you're selling the deal, you're also acquiring the deal, maybe wearing all the hats. And then you get to that point and it's like, okay, I need to hire somebody, right? But who? Where do I put somebody in? Do I hire them local? Do I get them from overseas? Do I put them on marketing or put them on sales, selling the deal? So I guess it really, really depends on what types of business they're doing. For me, we were just doing wholesale. So the first thing we did was just hire cold callers, right? Find somebody on Fiverr or Upwork.com, somebody who could speak English and make $1 million a day. Mm-hmm. But what I also found out too, like that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for somebody who's willing to sit on a dialer, with a list of 1,000 people who can run through the whole list in a day. No, what I'm looking for is somebody who can actually have quality conversations with people who want to sell and then tee them up for me to close. Yeah. Right. So stats really don't mean everything in that sense. It's, you have to kind of like navigate on like, hey, here's what your expectations are for the day. But also like, remember that like, in order to get to a lead, in order to get to a contract, in order to get to a closed deal, you have to start with that initial person. My thoughts. Now, if I was to start a brand new wholesale company tomorrow from scratch and I needed to hire immediately, I would say probably somebody on the dispo side, just
Mhm.
because acquisitions to me is so simple now because, we own a marketing company. So
Mhm.
that's like daily, deals are coming in daily. So I think probably on the other side, the dispo sales side, as well as a transaction coordinator, somebody to keep all those deals in check, right? Somebody to keep the peace between title, between buyer, between seller, between us. If somebody's not there maintaining order, then those deals could easily just fall out of escrow. Seller could go ghost or accept another offer.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, you need to ensure that, because you're the one paying for all the overhead, and got to
Yeah.
protect yourself.
I feel like also it's like the right fit, right? Like I've dealt with this a lot in my companies. I've scaled multiple digital marketing agencies. Is a lot of times you can have the right person in the wrong seat, and a lot of times you can have the wrong person in the right seat. So when it comes to someone being on the acquisition side, they better be not just focusing on volume of how many people they can talk to, but like what quality of conversation can they have. If they're not from this country, how good is their English? Are they able to relate to people on a personal level?
Yeah.
Do they have sales skills? Do they have empathy? Do they have are they a people person? Do they seem like they want to be on the phone with this person? Are they able to handle rejection and handle the questions that get asked to them? Yeah, I think really like the real estate side kind of comes second, because really the job is to gather information and deal with that person one-on-one. These people necessarily don't have to know the ins and outs of your industry and what you're doing. They really just have to be good people, and able to ask the right questions and get the right answers and understand how to get those answers. Because a lot of times we find that when you get on the call with these sellers, their guard is going to be up, and they're going to want to just give you the least amount of information possible to be able to get an offer from you or whatever it is. But the right person is going to be more closer to be a therapist than a real estate professional, because it's like, can you relate to the people, talk to them, understand that if the lead says that their mother just passed away, how do you approach that conversation? What
Different
type of tone of
conversation.
voice do
Yeah.
you have? Yeah. What
Yeah.
type of voice do you use? What tone of voice do you use? Do you have some way to relate to them, even if it's like thinking about how you could relate to them about a pet or a friend, someone passing away? Like, what can you do that's happened in your life that's related to that person? And if they're just going in guns blazing trying to get information and ignoring what's actually happening in that person's life, it's going to be really hard to get that person to want to work with you guys in the first place, unless they're just so desperate where they're just trying to give it away.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's the most important thing, is like the right person in the right seat. And then when we talk about the wrong person in the right seat, is maybe this person is really analytical and willing to do the volume, and willing to just have lots of conversations. And maybe it's better to have that person on the dispo side than the acquisition side, dealing with buyers and just trying to get the property out there to get dispoed. Where if they're a good salesperson, have those people skills, then I think that's the right fit for the acquisition side. And we've seen so many other companies that like will generate leads for you, and then they'll kick those leads over to VAs on their team to tee it up for you. However, I'll tell you, like, if you get if we had a really hot lead, a 10 out of 10 lead where the person is facing real distress and the property is in the right seats, you don't want to pass that off to a VA. Like, I would say the CEO, owner of the company, needs to come in and have some type of checks and balances to say, I'm handling this one personally because of the level of information I've received, because you do not want to fumble that. Because I'll tell you this, as someone who works in marketing for the last 15 years, when someone fills out one of these forms or goes on one of these websites for a cash offer, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to get pixeled, and they are going to be seeing ads from all of your competitors. And so if that first touch point you have, where you have that first swing at the baseball bat, isn't a home run, and you don't have the right person talking to that person and able to have a productive call for that first call gets them all the way to hopefully them being interested in signing a contract. then they're going to be talking to 10 other people who may have better skills, higher skill level. It may be someone who's more passionate about the industry, someone who knows what they're doing more, and they're at the end of the day is the one who's going to get the deal. They may be willing to give a higher offer than you because they have different dispo strategies than you. So if you fumble that lead because you have the wrong person in that seat, it can be really detrimental to your opportunity at closing that.
It's very hard to repair too. If when you get that lead, if you don't give it your all or go 100%, then it's hard to repair that relationship with that seller because, like you said, they are pixel. The algorithm is other people have that stuff too. So not only are they getting cold calls and direct mail probably every day too, if somebody else comes in and the seller likes them more than you, then you have a hard time of surpassing that and getting the deal. So yeah, it's super important, man. I was actually just having a conversation with this guy before this call, and he was telling me that he had VA in the Philippines, right? Which is great too, but he's looking to come on board with us. And I told him, hey man, I'm not your guy. I'm not comfortable with producing you leads of this quality and you just kicking them to somebody else in a different country when I know you would close them. But don't look at this like, hey man, I'm hiring this person just so my life can be easier. No, you're still going to have to work on the business, maybe not so much in it, but that person should take care of some of the minute tasks that you don't want to do. You don't want to be making cold calls. You don't want to be sending out mass texts or doing just little follow-up stuff, right? But like when there's something of that quality, like you spoke on, Andrew, death in the family, whatever, like you still need to take charge and be the one that's going to handle that lead because that lead is very expensive. And the closing percentage on that lead is much higher than the shit you're dealing with on the cold call, outbound, cold outreach, spectrum. So not every lead is created equal. We all know that, guys.
When it comes to hiring for these types of positions, what do you feel about people who hire VAs, virtual assistants, maybe like you said, they're in another country versus hiring someone locally? What do you think are like the pros and cons of that? What do you think is like best practice when it comes to those types of things?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's pros and cons to each. We all know that Americans suck at work. Their work ethic is shit, probably some of the worst in the world. If they have a job, they take advantage of it, and they're a lot of people working 9 to 5, not knocking you guys for doing it, but a lot of people, they work and then they want to go find a new job within a year or two or whatever, right? This entrepreneurship is not for everyone. As far as work ethic in other countries, I mean, it's A1, right? You put a job application out there, you're hiring one person, you're going to have 100 people showing up at your door. You put one out here in America, you probably won't even get any calls. No one wants to work here. But with that being said, is the talent better there than it is here? I wouldn't say. Probably it's hard to train somebody on how a real estate transaction is done from another country because there's different laws and things over there, but it can be done. It just revolves a lot of training and a lot of, scripting in order for them to fully understand the whole process that they're going to be doing from behind the screen, but never actually physically see it or do it in person. You know what I mean? So, I mean, we've been doing it with VAs now for 8 years, and I have VAs locking up contracts for me, every type of disposition, wholesale, subject to, novation, every type of deal. I have VAs overseas getting those under contract for me. But with that came a lot of training, trial and error, stuff like that. To me, it's simple now, but a lot of times when I would do that in the past, I failed out on a lot, right? A lot of deals have slipped through because I didn't have the proper checks and balances in place. Cons or pros here is you can send people out there to get a deal in person. You can't do that, from a different country.
Sure.
Like have that person go on an appointment or whatever. There's ways around it though. I think it's kind of like 50-50, dude, to be honest. More so, I think people here prefer the commission than
Yeah.
hourly, because hourly pay is pretty light. But overseas, it's hard. It's hard to do commission with virtual assistants or virtual help. It's not as common. People get paid by the hour, especially when
Mhm.
they're working for an American company. So, I mean, really, I guess it really depends. You know what I mean? Do you have
Yeah.
an office? If you have an office, 1,000 square foot office, you need people in there. If you don't, you're working from home, then, maybe try to do the virtual route.
Got you.
Yeah, I've seen pros and cons to both. I think I answered your question. I go
Yeah.
down the rabbit hole quite a bit.
You know, what do you think is more important? Is like hiring more important, or is the like internal systems and processes more important when it comes to like you're ready to take that next step? You're a real estate investor. You're closing some deals, and you're like, okay, I need to take this to the next level. What's the first thing I should do? We talk about hiring the right person is most important for virtual versus someone local. But when it comes to that specifically, what are the pros and cons versus hiring someone or potentially just focusing on what processes and systems you have? I know that we have clients that are people who use Google spreadsheets and a cell phone, and that's how they do their work, right? And eventually that's only going to take them so far. Now with those people, does it make sense to just have someone be hired as their next step to scale? We saw a guy who within his first year hired 10 people, right, to his team. That's a lot of overhead to take on, even if you're doing really, really well. So like, what are some alternatives, I guess, to hiring outside of just saying like, I'm going to go hire 10 people? Some alternatives you can do internally with like systems and processes and technology to be able to maybe accomplish some of those same goals you might have to take some of that work off your plate to scale your real estate investment business.
Yeah. Um, I guess it really depends, man, on how tech savvy you are, right? Like for us, we already know my wholesale business, it's we're pretty heavy on the tech. We would rather scale the CRM or plug in or add more stuff to our app store to make it be able to do a lot of the stuff that a normal human would have been doing 10 years ago. We can kind of just like build out automations and workflows around that. But also too, some people may not be tech savvy like me, and they might just want to hire like, a human to do sales calls or run appointments or, sell the deal. Right. So
Mhm.
I guess it really depends, but also I want to touch on this too. You can't train somebody if you have a bad process.
Mhm.
Like if your process is not to a T, if you can't show them exactly how, what, when, where, why, who, where, how it works, what to do, the SOP. If you have bad system or bad SOPs that aren't very descriptive, then you're not going to be able to train somebody to be just like you. I can't go out and I can't clone myself.
Mhm.
Andrew, you can't clone yourself, right? So no matter what, no one's ever going to be perfect in your eyes, in my
Mhm.
eyes. They're never going to be able to do everything that I can do. So people, if you're hiring, they're only going to be as good as your process on how to train them is, right? And as far as they can go in this business. So yeah, it really does depend for me. I'm all about a lean, mean team, a few people at most, and then scaling the automations,
Mhm.
scaling AI, using tech to kind of alleviate some of the manpower that what would have been 10 years ago can be done now without
Yeah.
a human, without a payroll. Some people though, they like to have 5, 10 people in-house helping out, doing this, doing that. So really depends on the person.
Mhm.
um, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
we've
get that.
come so far too, bro, nowadays. Like the stuff there's new inventions being created every day that are taking a job or, taking a position and can do what something didn't have had a job for yesterday. It can now do that job today. So we need
Yeah.
to implement that stuff. Technology is just it's so far advanced nowadays. We need to get plugged in.
I think the first thing people can do outside of hiring, because this may require a hire, this may require a contract hire, this could require a developer, maybe someone from Upwork, someone from Fiverr, something like that, and specifically like a CRM expert, because I think the first thing people should do is really focus on that. If you don't have that CRM element, and with that CRM have strong nurture sequences and automations. I can tell you some of the ones that we use that work really, really well for acquiring properties. Missed call text back, right? An automation that simply, if someone calls your business and for whatever reason you're not there, can't answer, it automatically will text them and say, hey, so sorry, missed your call. This is Drew from Lead Out 365. What can I do for you, right? And then they can at least have a conversation via text. Maybe you're at a restaurant with your wife or husband or wife or partner, and you're someone calls you and you're unable to speak to them in that very moment. Have that with your leads and connect them directly to your acquisitions guy. So that way, if there is a missed call, there is at least a effort to make contact with them. There's also call connect, where essentially as soon as a lead comes in, the call connect will dial your number, and when you answer, it will say, hey, this is Lead Outs 365. You have a call with Craig, who is looking to sell his house. It is in this area, and he said that it's in this condition. Would you like me to connect you to them? If you say yes or press the number 1, whatever it is, then it will automatically try to call that seller, and you're already on the line. So as soon as that lead comes in, it's going to attempt the call connect. And if you're not able to do it, that's fine. But then it's the same thing. If the lead calls you and you're not available, have the text conversation automatically start. And then that call connect feature is really, really strong. Secondly, is like as soon as the lead comes in, they should get a text and an email and hopefully a call connect immediately within seconds. Because like I said, they're going to start seeing ads for other people. And if no one in your team is available to contact that person in the first 5 minutes, that every single minute that goes by, that lead is going to get colder and colder and colder and colder. In that moment, they submit that, especially if it's a lead that comes from us. These come from social media marketing. It could come from YouTube, Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, LinkedIn. They are saying, I want an offer on my house. I'm showing you my cards. We know who they are, what condition the property is in, why they're looking to sell it. A lot of times we know their asking price. We know the exact address. As soon as that comes in, there should be some form of contact so that they understand that there is a connection now, a human to human connection. And if 20 minutes goes by, they may fill out 5 other forms. They may, go leave their house, and someone may come over. They may have to go back to work. They could be doing this on their break. So the second they fill it out, we know that they are on their phone and that they are thinking about a solution to this problem they're having. And they're saying, can someone help me solve this problem? And 20 minutes later, their lives could be totally different. They could change their minds. They could get a call from someone else because they're getting pixeled. They could see ads now from other companies and start calling those companies and having those other conversations. So these automations will allow that contact to be instantaneous. And then lastly, the nurture sequences. Right? Just because a lead comes in and you talk to them and the lead doesn't work, right? They want market value, potentially their timeline doesn't line up, or they're just like uninformed about what situation they're in, and now they're no longer interested. You can set up nurture sequences that you can set it up to be hourly, weekly, daily, monthly, yearly, to reach out to that person via email, text, phone call, do a call connect between you two, following up. Send a text message, an automated text message. First do it, every 2 weeks, then switch it to once a month, then switch it to every other month, but constantly checking in with that person. Just because they're not ready to sell that house in that very moment you have that first conversation does not mean that in 3 months from now, someone in their family could get sick. They finally have been under the impression that they're going to be able to sell this for market value, and they finally realize that I can't, but this is the first guy I talked to, and this is the guy who keeps following up with me. If you just hang up that phone and say, this lead is dead, they're not a fit, then you're dead in this industry. But the follow-up game and the nurture game is what's going to get deals. I know, Craig, you've told me stories of you've nurtured leads for 6 months. You've nurtured leads for 2 years that became some of your largest assignment fees you've received because you were the one who did the legwork and did that. And a lot of times this can all be set up once. You set up that automation once. You do the hour, or you hire even a developer in Pakistan to do it for you. But once it's set up, now all of a sudden those leads you have are alive until they sell that home. Eventually they're going to say, I sold the home to someone else, or they're going to sell it to you. At the end of the day, the leads we generate are people who need to sell. Their timeline may be 6 months or 6 years or 6 hours, but they need to sell. And if you're the one who's constantly nurturing and following up with them, you're going to get that deal at the end of the day at some point. And you're going to take that money you spent to get that lead, whether you bought it from us, a PPL company, a cold call, your time is money. If you spend time cold calling, that is you spending money on generating leads, and you're going to get that money 100, maybe 100x if you on every single lead you generate, if you're willing to do that nurture sequence. And I bet your ROI when you look year over year will be astronomically higher than if you just treat leads as that one conversation or that one attempt of a conversation. Maybe they don't even pick up, but then you nurture them for six months, and then they call you because now they're ready. They weren't ready to have a true conversation about it. They were just tire kicking. 6 months later, their situation's changed, and now they're ready to have that conversation.
100%, dude. I mean, you knocked it out of the park. We can definitely replace human to human interaction with a lot of the stuff in the technology utilizing in our CRMs or AI or whatever, that maybe you don't need to like put a human in there right now. So I think right now hiring is probably a little more not advanced, but I would say hiring might not be something you need to do when things are just too busy for you. You might be able to, just hand off a lot of your follow up or your nurturing to AI or a drip sequence or something like that. Mm-hmm. And that can probably do most of the stuff that you would have done manually. Super simple, man,
And a lot of times it's like, let's say you do hire and you're putting someone maybe in acquisitions or into marketing, right? Like working with a company like ours, and there's a lot of company, no one's like us, but there's a lot of companies that do the same thing as us or a similar thing to us. But that money you could put into a campaign with us, and it's going to be, a certain price a month. Or you can hire someone, and you're going to be hoping that you hired the right person. And that person may, every single job everyone's ever had, like the days of like, I worked for the Ford factory. It was my first job when I was 18 out of high school. And then I worked there until the day I retired. Those days are over. Everyone's constantly looking for a new job if you're working at 9 to 5. And every job has a lifespan. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 6 years. But a lot of the times, are you willing to invest into that person who could just walk away and leave? That could be constantly just working just hard enough not to get fired, right? You could take that money and put it into a company and run a campaign with us where we have this figured out. We have this dialed in. We are generating deals for people all over the country in every single market at a fraction of the cost of what you'd pay a full-time employee, especially if you're paying those people commissions. You're not paying us commissions on the deals you generate. You're just paying us a flat fee to get as many leads as we can get you that fit your specific criteria. So you're really just, it's like hiring an entire marketing team to build out a acquisition channel for you at a fraction of the cost where you don't have to manage those people. Which when you hire someone, now you're just adding more to your plate because now you need to manage that person. That person isn't going to show up every day. If you let that person, they're going to show up every day and they're just going to sit there and cash their check and wait for direction. If you're not ready to be that, and a lot of times people don't want to be leaders. Sometimes people can be great solo entrepreneurs. They have no interest in building a team. They have no interest in having to micromanage and manage people. That's why we're here, because you can come in and work with us. And all you have to do is check out the leads we generate you and go close the deals. Everything we do is turnkey, hands off. We have developers, we have designers, we have marketers, we have salespeople. We have everything needed to just generate these leads for you and tee them up so that you can go do what you're good at. So let us manage the team. Let us have our process and be hired, and you just go do what you're good at, which is closing the deals and then dispoing the properties. But as far as it comes of like generating leads marketing, We will outduel any direct mail campaign, any cold calling team, and then anyone else doing what we do, just because we have this so dialed in and templatized that we like the worst case scenario we see where we're upset with ourselves that the product we deliver is still astronomically better than 99% of this what's happening in this industry. Like one of our leads versus a PPL lead, ours is going to be a fraction of the price and at least 50% higher quality. I would say at like when it comes to worse. Is there going to be people who just are going to be want market value? Of course. That's what this industry is. Like everyone wants something, that doesn't mean they're going to get it. Every person wants a Lamborghini, doesn't mean they're going to have the money for it. Everyone thinks that their house is worth $1 million. Everyone thinks their car is worth that. It's the same thing when you bring your car in to a dealership and you think you're going to get this much. You're probably not, right? But that's why car salesmen are good at what they do. Everyone walks into a car dealership and they understand that sticker price is not what you're going to pay, right? They raise those prices ahead of time. Everyone knows the game. It's the same thing with this. The seller is going to raise their price to you. It's your job is to knock down their barriers and find middle ground with them, educate them what's realistic, and to have multiple dispo strategies so that you're able to help them. Because at the end of the day, these are people who need help. And if you're not going to help them, someone else is going to. And sometimes that help can just be saying, hey, I'm not the best fit. Here's realistically what I would pay. If this interests you, I would love to talk to you again, but I recommend you talk to a realtor. If you need one, I can help find you one. And then you have work with a realtor that you can get, a referral fee for. Like there's ways to make money off of every single lead you get if you're scrappy and creative.
No doubt. Yeah, man. Yeah. Ethics too goes a long way, right? If you're not the right guy, telling the seller you're probably not the right guy is probably the best option. And it's probably the best way to keep them on the phone, knowing that, okay, now he's come forth and he's told that, hey, he's not the right buyer. But you're going to get sellers who just maybe they want to sell cash, but they already remodeled it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get sellers who the home doesn't need any repairs. They got a hard money loan on there. They need to sell it. They're motivated as heck, but for whatever reason that they can't accept a cash offer 70% on the dollar, 50% on the dollar. So we provide you people who want to sell, have to sell, need to sell. It's up to you guys to structure that deal to make it work. Also, your guys' campaigns are already running. Just because you're not a client of us right now, your campaign has still been running for the past 4+ years in every other market but yours without you being a client of us. So the momentum behind what's already been happening for the past 4 years is already there, guys. People, they're drinking Coca-Cola. They don't need to go see a brand new brand, XYZ Homebuyers LLC. Do I trust them? Should I fill this form out? No, you're already using what we already created.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to place it in your market for you and create your own custom funnel. But you're piggybacking off of our brand, off our algorithm, our momentum of showing this stuff in front of sellers. Millions and millions and millions of people have already seen what we're doing. So they're much more likely and comfortable to fill out using our brand, our funnel. And so it just gets you a better, high quality lead faster.
Yeah. It's like if you think about if you were a State Farm agent, right? You're an insurance professional. You end up working under State Farm. Essentially, like State Farm is running commercials on TV and social media. And when someone comes into Richmond, Virginia, that goes to the agents in Richmond, Virginia, right? So our ads, our commercials, our TV commercials that are generating insanely hot seller leads, motivated seller leads every single day, those commercials are running all over the country, generating leads for everyone we work with. They're just not running in your market yet. Potentially, not saying because if you're in the if we're working with your competitors, then they are. But we only work with one person per market. So essentially, there is a wide open sea that if there is a potential to partner with us in your market, that we are just going to place the proven system we have with the proven ads that are generating people to come and say, hey, please help me out of this difficult situation I'm going through and buy my house from me. We're just going to drop all of that
in your market. And usually within 24 to 48 hours, we start seeing consistent lead flow. Sometimes it's 1 to 2 a day. Sometimes it can be as high as 5 motivated seller leads per day. And we do it for a flat fee. So no matter how many leads we generate you, if it's 500 or 5,000 or 50 or 5, depending on what your criteria is, you're not going to pay us any more. So it's really insanely easy way to get maximum return on investment from your marketing budget. But at first, you need to have a marketing budget. And if you don't have a marketing budget, then we suggest continue to cold call, continue to drive for dollars, put up the signs, do your thing. But if you have a marketing budget you're willing to dedicate, and just so everyone knows, a digital marketing budget should be substantial. It should be somewhere between, I'd say, $3,000 and $5,000 per month, because a majority of that money is going directly to advertising platforms, right? It's not free to run a Super Bowl commercial, right? It's not free to want to run a Facebook ad. And these platforms, just like everything else in our country, inflation is happening. They're charging more. Why? Because it costs more to run their business. It costs more to run to have server farms than to have their employees. Their employees need to be paid more because cost of living in their areas has gone up. It trickles all the way down. Just like home values are going to rise, everything else is rising. So that being said, I'd say, $3,000 to $5,000 a month minimum to dedicate to any type of digital marketing campaign. However, an inbound digital marketing campaign is the most fruitful way to generate motivated sellers in this day, because how many people have smartphones? Everybody. How many people go on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, these platforms? 95% of everybody, right? Not everybody checks their mail and calls things from direct mail. I'm telling you, not everybody talks to cold callers and is willing to have a conversation with cold callers. Not everybody even owns TVs and has like cable TV. If you want to run like a cable TV ad and run it on the local news, how many people are actually watching that compared to 10 years ago versus how many people are on social media versus 10 years ago? It is the most
shifted, man.
It's the most current. It's the most, and it's only growing. These platforms are only growing. But at the same time, advertising on these platforms is getting more and more competitive. And because we only work with one person per market, like we're either going to work with you or one of your competitors, because we are growing super fast. It's been so exciting the last year to see how many people we've been able to help, and some of the leads we're generating just in the last couple of days. We've seen some insane leads that come in. People saying that this one right here says, I need to get out of debt. This house needs to be on level land and needs a new septic tank, right? They're straight up telling us that they are in debt, they need to sell, and the reason why and what repairs need to be done to the house. This one says that they don't want to mess with another rental property any longer, and they need to move closer to their grandkids. So they're telling us the reason why. This one says personal health. This one we got earlier today says medical emergency.
So it's easy, Brent.
When you talk to these people, you say, so sorry to hear about your medical emergency. I would love to see if I can help you. So this property at 123 Main Street, are you looking to sell that to help you pay for this medical emergency? And now you're talking about the medical emergency is the problem. Like, you're not just talking numbers and talking about like where the house is zoned and like, no, you're talking about what they're going through, and you're saying, here's what I can do to help you. And if not, here's 3 other things I can do to help you.
It's never about the house. Ever.
Yeah.
It's about the person. We don't target houses. We don't target real estate. We're a people business.
Yeah. We're targeting people's social media profiles, and we're saying, hey, if you're in a tough situation and need to sell your house because of inheritance, death, divorce, something or another, then we can help you. Fill out this short form to get an offer within 24 hours. They fill it out. They tell us their whole sob story of everything they're going through, and the complete information of the property, and we tee that up to you. And when you talk to them, just treat them like people. Treat them like you're there to help them out of a situation. And more often than not, they're going to find the value in you just being there for them to listen and to provide them information. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Craig call sellers and say, here's realistically what your house would get on the market. Here's realistically what I can give you, which would be fast and easy. And I can give you this much within a very short period of time. But if you want X, Y, and Z, I'm not going to be able to do that. And just to know, I don't know if anyone else is going to be able to do that either, just from me being in this industry. So if nothing else, I hope that this information provides value to you. And if you do need anything, you can always reach out to us. But providing that information that they may not know, maybe they're early in this process, and providing that value to them, whether it's a bit lending a listening ear or providing them information that they didn't have before about what reality is, that is valuable. And at the end of the day, if they think about it and they do believe that your solutions that you offer to them is for them, they're going to come back to you. But if you just judge the lead for what the lead says and says, oh, this house is in perfect condition, oh, this person wants market value, oh, this person isn't giving me anything, they're just saying moving, so I'm going to wait an hour to call that person, then you don't stand a chance. You should, not every lead is created equal, but you should treat the leads as if they are, because some people are going to be more forthcoming with information, some people are not. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to be motivated and that they're not going to be someone who's a perfect candidate for the solution you offer.
Yeah. And a lot of people too, man, they don't want to open up until they are confirmed. They want to talk like it's a human. You know,
and if that person calls and it's someone in the Philippines who clearly English is a second language, are they going to open up at that point? Or if it's Craig from, Cash Offer DC, who's been in the local community and sponsors the local kids baseball team and has been in that area for decades, they're gonna be more likely to talk to you and trust you and talk to you. And that's what you get when you work with us, is you get the proven brand that people know, that they can go look and is accredited with the Better Business Bureau, that has 5-star reviews all over the country, that's been doing this for decades. And you get to piggyback off that brand when the leads come in. And then you're the local guy who can go, talk to them one-on-one if you need to, when you get that contract signed.
But yeah, they already let their guard down because they see that, oh, this brand has so much weight to it. And now, you do the deal with your own LLC, but to source you the lead, we use our brand because it's proven. Cool, man.
Yeah. Well,
I know we went a little off track here, but what?
Yeah,
what
we talked about hiring. We talked a lot about just kind of like the industry as a whole. Let me see here. We've had a bunch of people come in and through Instagram, and someone had said that when it comes to like hiring an employee, are one-trick ponies dead? In 2025, do you need to be kind of a jack of all trades in this industry? What do you think about that?
Ask that question?
Yeah.
They asked, are one-trick ponies? I mean, yeah, I actually create content on this topic a lot, because I know if you are just going in this for one thing and one thing only, right? If you're a pitcher and all you have is a knuckleball, then everyone knows all you have is a knuckleball. So they're going to learn your pitch. But, if you're a pitcher and you have a slider, you have a fastball, you have the knuckleball, you have, what are the other pitches? There's a million of them, but you get what I'm saying. If you can mix it up and have other strategies, then, because not all lead, guys, there's so much difference going on with these leads, like equity position, condition, timeline, debt, foreclosure, auction, inheritance, probate. There's so much stuff going on with the lead. Not every lead is always going to be able to accept the cash offer. I turn more people away from doing business with Lead House because all they want to do is cash offer, assignment, wholesale deals. The reality is, after COVID, guys, and everyone did their refinance and they had a forbearance, is people are still in the same situation they were before. They have to sell. But the equity they had before COVID is nowhere near what it is now. The rate that they had before COVID isn't anywhere where it's near now. So they still have to sell, guys. A motivated seller is a motivated seller is a motivated seller is a motivated seller. If you can't figure out what type of deal to do with them, then you're going to be stuck with your one-trick pony, and you're not going to last in this industry unless you have a massive marketing budget, unless you have a massive team, right? We do work with some guys who are doing, like, they own a few different markets. They're virtual, but they own markets in the Midwest or whatever that are doing mostly assignments. but they're also leaving a lot of money on the table because they don't want to take the time to learn or understand how to do creative finance or novations, or work with a couple of realtors in that area that can potentially list these properties for them. But the guys who are crushing it, doing 5-10 deals a month on minimum spend, they're the ones who are flexible. If a seller is motivated, if they can't figure it out, then that seller will never sell the house.
Yep.
Like, they're getting the deal. They're getting the 1 out of 5 leads under contract. It might just be a different piece of paper they're getting signed.
Yep. What do you think are those main dispo strategies people should focus on if they're jumping on here, that outside of like a straight cash offer, or the top few? I don't know if it's 3 to 5, but whatever you suggest people really, and if any of these don't make sense to you, you should really go start researching these potentially other dispo strategies, because from everything we're seeing, it's only going to get harder and harder. The way people's have been buying houses the last 10 years, and the mortgage rates that are not going down. Maybe they'll go down a point or two, but going into the future, seems like this is what it is. I know that U-Haul reported their data that the least amount of people in the history of the company of U-Haul, since I think the 60s or 70s, are on the move, renting U-Hauls, moving, because they can't afford to buy something new and they can't sell the thing they have. So you better be willing to find a solution for those people who maybe need to move, but are in XYZ situation. So what are some of those other dispo strategies that you find are like the most important ones as we head into 2026?
Probably the most important, I would say, is novations. Where it's close to a cash offer, but there's no assignment fee. Like, you can't make money on it, but they're giving you a nice discount. Maybe the home isn't in that rough a shape, and would be better to just get it on the market in front of the entire world to accept offers. Now, these deals, the spreads are bigger. It is messier. It takes longer. You do have to disclose to the seller you're listing it on the market, but it's another way to control the deal. Once you get it under contract, you control the deal.
So essentially, if you had a house that like someone needed to sell, and it needed $30,000 in repairs, right? Instead of saying, well, this needs $30,000 repairs and I need a $20,000 margin on top of that, $30,000 margin on top of that, and saying I can only give you, I need a $60,000, $70,000 discount or more to be able to work with you. Now you're saying, okay, essentially, like, I need a $40,000 discount to just cover those repairs, and then you list it and you just are able to get the commission essentially off that sale, or whatever that difference might be.
Kind of like that. Yeah, it's more so like the as is value is really like what you're looking at,
as is market value.
The as is value as it sits today, not the ARV. We're really kind of focusing on what it looks like right now and what is that worth, and then you do your you minus your percentage of repairs and your fee and everything involved. But what happens is, it looks in the eyes of an investor who would be looking on the market as a pretty good deal. And usually it still is a good deal, but
especially for like people who are doing fix and flips, right? They can come in and just say, okay, I can make this a nice flip when I put a little elbow grease into it.
Yeah, but maybe you're not your traditional maybe it's not your traditional buyer that you have on your buyer's list that want fix and flip, has a whole construction crew. Maybe it's like Chip and Joanna Gaines, HGTV, husband and wife, quintessential flipper that everybody working a W-2 and their wife wants to do. They're like, oh, wow, this is a good discount, but what if we house hack this thing? We can buy it with a conventional loan, right? Live in it for 2 years and fix it up room by room for those 2 years, and then sell it after 2 years and go on to the next one. Now, what happens after they live in there for 2 years? Okay, well, when you go to sell it, you're not taxed on capital gains, right? Or maybe it's your flipper who wants to do his first flip and doesn't know anything about where to find deals outside of the MLS. Maybe it's someone like a listing agent who has a real good connection with hedge funds or something like that, and she brings a hedge fund to buy it. So Getting
Could
it
be
out
even
on
maybe
the
a
market.
retail buyer who just is really handy, and they're like, "This is a good deal. I'll fix it up myself because I don't want to pay." They see that deal being more valuable than
Correct.
the retail value of another home that may not need that work.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe their repair cost is a lot less than what we thought it would be, and they're just like,
Mhm.
"Oh, it's a good price, good deal, and I can do it myself."
Or
So you just
my
don't
brother
know.
has a construction company and like can show me how to do some of this stuff.
Yeah,
So you're
yeah,
basically exposing it to a much bigger buyer pool than you would in the
audience.
traditional cash offer situation.
Correct, because your buyers, your off-market buyers can only go so far,
Mhm.
So putting it on the market is just going to get it in front of everybody,
Right.
every type of buyer there is. So, and then
Mhm.
the other one, dude, would be subject
Mhm.
to. People who don't know this strategy are losing out on a lot of opportunities strictly because they're focused on trying to make those cash offers to people with no equity. You
Yeah.
know, like I said, man, a motivated seller is a motivated seller is a motivated seller. It doesn't matter if you're in here just for wholesale cash assignment deals.
Mhm.
You're going to lose 100% of the time. It's just because I know, and what other people that really tear it up with us know, is that, hey, man, if I can get this person to agree to how much money to walk away and keep that loan at 3%,
Mhm.
4%, whatever it is in place, then I know exactly what to do. It's same process, guys. You close on a title company, or you can even assign these deals to another buyer, right? But same process, close with title commitment, everything. The paperwork is different. That's it. So understand the paperwork, guys. You're taking over their loan. You're giving them some money to walk away. Loan staying in place. Title company, the paperwork tells the title company the loan's staying in place. They know what to do. They're going to figure it out. And this is legal, guys. This is not illegal. This stuff, it's in the IRS handbook on how to
Mhm.
do it. Right. So, yes, maybe it's a hard pitch to the seller because they've never heard about it before. Sounds a little sketchy. But at the end of the day, push comes to shove, man. If they don't have any other option, this is the only way to get it done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, dude, it focus on novations, focus on sub two, being creative, find a realtor in your market, dude, who can handle some of these listings that only fit that way. Because again, the more pitches you got up at bat, or yeah, the more pitches you got, the more chances you have to get the deal.
Yeah. We know, I mean, some guys who are just focusing solely on novations, right? Because if the cash offer deal comes, great if they can do it. Those are going to be further and further, far and few between. So focus on like one of those other strategies and just go in assuming that that's what you're going to do. And once you get to that point where you're in your mindset is this is what I'm going to do, is a sub two or a novation. And if I can, all else fails, like get to that. If you go in with that mindset versus going in with the cash offer mindset, you're going to make a lot more, you're going to close a lot more deals and get a lot more properties under contract because you're going in with solutions that are more likely to fit. So the way I would approach it is you talk to a seller, you say, here's the three ways I can help you. 1, 2, 3. One of those three, right? Like Craig talked about, we talked about cash offer, novation, sub two. Out of those three, you should be able to maybe serve 50% of the leads potentially that you generate from any type of source. One of those, they should be able to fit one of those. Doesn't mean you're going to get them on a contract, but be able to work with them. If you're specifically going cash offer only, we're talking maybe 10% or less. And I think going into 2026, that number is only going to go down. You're talking a difference between 50% or 10%. There's always going to be 50% of people you probably talk to that are just never there. You're just not going to be able to help them at this very moment. Doesn't mean 6 months from now, but in this very moment, their mind or their heart is not going to, because they have sentimental value tied to the home. They just think about how much money they're losing, and that's what they're focused on. And they're just not quite motivated yet. But this doesn't mean 6 months from now they will be. But really, if you really lead in with those three solutions and present them in a way that makes sense, you got to be able to simplify this and dumb this down to a middle schooler could understand what you're saying. If you're able to do that, so that where they trust you, they feel comfortable with you, you're empathetic to what situation they're in, and you're providing solutions that make sense, then I think 50% of leads will be something you can potentially work with and have a chance of getting under contract.
Yeah, definitely, man, for sure.
Well, that's everything we had for today. Unless Craig, you had anything you wanted to close with?
Yeah, guys, stay flexible. Stay flexible. Have a process before you start to hire. Have a process before you think about hiring. And also, yeah, see what's the best for you, man. You know, if it's virtual, go virtual. If it's not, go in tech, then add AI in to help you out. Or if you really want somebody in office and need somebody, you know, local, then hire somebody local. But yeah, that's pretty much it, I think.
Yes. And as always, thanks for checking it out. We'll be here back in a couple weeks doing this again. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming up on the way. And as always, if you need any help generating leads, right? If you're looking for the hottest, most motivated, most qualified, ready to hand their keys over to you and walk away leads in the industry, for people who do novation sub twos, cash offers, any type of real estate transactions, then we'd love to talk to you and see if potentially we can partner. We've been talking more and more. We're getting a little bit more specific about who we work with, just because, just same thing as you guys, like we only have so much bandwidth. So that's why we're now cutting it down to only one person per market. And even then we're moving more into a, you have to kind of apply to work with us, not the other way around. Right. But if you are looking for that, we'd love to at least talk with you. And as always, if we can't work together, we'll at least be able to provide you some value and maybe some solutions that might be able to help you out. If it's not even us, because we are not the perfect fit for everybody. Just like every one of your sellers is not probably the perfect fit for you to do business with as well. So, but we'd love to talk to you. So you can head over to leadhouse365.com and schedule an appointment to talk with us. And it will be literally one of us chatting it up with you. And we'd love to hear about your business, your struggles, what you guys are dealing with in the real estate industry. That way you can give ideas for us to come up here and share that information and solutions for people every single other week on the closing table. And maybe we can provide a direct resource and solution to the problems you're having in your own business, specifically if it's acquisition and lead gen. I know for a fact we can solve that for you. So would love to talk to you guys in person. But if not, then we hope to see you back in a couple weeks, the Friday after next, right here on the closing table. And hope everyone has a great weekend.
All right, guys.
See you later.